How do local classes deal with local variables? The first thing to note is it's only final local variables which can be accessed. And these variables are only set once, and they must be set before they can be used. But what's more, they can't be set by the local class either. It's got to be something in the method that does it. And what the local class does is it takes a copy of those which it uses. And these are passed into any constructors which it's got, which in turn store a copy of them. And if you think about it, if a variable evaluates to a compile time constant, which is either a primitive or a string, then it merely substitutes the value because it doesn't need to store it at all. Okay, here's an example to illustrate that. We got this class G here, and there's a method in it, and inside the method is this local class there, which extends A, and it starts there and ends there, and it does some computations with S, I, J, and K, all of which are final. And down here, just go measure it, constructs a new version, constructs an instance of local. Okay, right, here's how that local class is transformed by the compiler to turn into what it effectively does. What it effectively does is this. Well, first of all, the class is renamed to be $1 local, which extends A. And then it hasn't got a constructor in here, so the default constructor is inserted, and this is how it gets modified. Now, because this is a non-static local, it's going to need an instance of the enclosing class. The enclosing class being the enclosing instance being of type G. So the first parameter that goes into the constructor is of type G, and then we get parameters for each of the local final variables which are used, unless they're compile time constants. So we get one for each of those, and this is what the constructor does. Well, the first thing it does is it stores this $0, which is going to be the instance of the enclosing class which is passed in. That's the first thing it stores. And then it stores these values for final variables which are being used inside the class. And these are given names, and the name that the compiler chooses is val $ followed by whatever the name is in the method. So you'll get val $s holding the string there, and that's the first value that's passed in. And then you get val $i, and that is for that value there, which is the next value that's passed in. And then you get val $k for that value there, which is passed in as the fourth parameter. And then, and only then, it calls super to do the superclass constructor and anything else. Okay, now if you'd written a constructor in here as well yourself that perhaps took some parameters, then all this lot would be inserted in front of those parameters. And again, it would be done first and they're called a super before you can do anything. So it always goes in front of the call to super. All of this stuff does. And of course these are all stored, these val $ values are all stored in final member fields for the local class. Right. Now the value down here for this method XYZ. Oh, that should be a capital letter, shouldn't it? Yes, it should be capital S. The value is which is returned here is S plus all that lot, which of course obviously gets transformed into val S plus val $S plus val $I plus, and this time it's 8 because this being known at compile time and fixed in final or whatever, constant, it just gets substituted. So a J there just gets replaced by 8. So that just becomes 8. And then val $K for the final one there. Now, pretty obviously, also the compiler is going to do a bit of transformation on this instantiation of local that takes place there. So that call to the constructor is going to have some extra parameters put in. So it's going to have an instance of G passed in, which will by default, of course, be this, and then it will have the string parameter passed in S, and then I, and then K. The compiler will put all that stuff in there to match up with that, and of course it will change that from being local to being $G1 local. So you can see that's fairly straightforward, I suppose, really. Now, you sometimes see people asking requests for enhancements, where they ask to be able to access stuff which isn't, to access local variables which are not final. Now, if you think about it, that's just about impossible. Under any scheme like this, it's completely impossible to do it safely as well. So, I mean, they might as well ask for the next version of Java to come with, well, a free herd of golden elephants, I suppose. Just as likely to happen.